I think I'm a special one.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
All right, we're back. Welcome on the Half-Turn Podcast, episode 44. What's up, Chad?
What's going on, dude? We're right around the corner from the World Cup. Yeah, it starts the 20th. It's the 7th right now, so 13 days.
So less than 2 weeks.
Yep.
So this is, episode 44, but I guess like little sub-series, World Cup episode 1. So each one will title it 44, in parentheses, maybe like a WC1, to let you know this is episode number 1 of our World Cup series. And we're planning to preview Group A, Group C, Group D, Group E today. Then the U.S. roster comes out on Wednesday, so we'll review that and preview Group B in the same episode. So if all you really care about is the U.S. group, that's the episode for you. If you're a maniac soccer junkie like us, you'll want to hear all of them. And then we'll try to, I think probably an episode after every U.S. game and then an episode after every cycle of games.
Yeah. So I thought the U.S. How do I sound, by the way? I sound okay?
You sound all right. You look terrible.
Ooh. Not in this French kit.
Oh, man. That's what you're wearing? Well, let me see it. I can't see it.
Man, yeah. I got a French number 19 Pogba jersey on. It's right when he started playing for France, so it's kind of old. And we're talking a little bit about France, so I thought it was appropriate. What you got on?
But little preview for our preview. No Pogba in the World Cup.
Ooh, yeah.
So that's a hit. So on this might be one of my grails. It's a light blue 2011, 2012 Santos Neymar jersey. It has Neymar 11 on the back. The Santos kit, all of the Brazilian sponsors. Most of my soccer memories started in 2009, 10, 11 with the Union, the U.S. national team. And then, as we got more into soccer, it was Neymar. It was Neymar's, tricks and flicks and highlight videos. And I specifically remember this Neymar video with the song Whistle by Flo Rida on it. And, I could just watch that video all day. It was just, it was insane. So I have this, and I have some more Neymar heat coming in future episodes. But I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was about to say was I thought the U.S. roster, they said they were going to come out the 6th.
This is the 9th.
But no, it comes out the 9th, right?
Yeah, the 9th. They have some thing in New York City for it.
I originally thought that the USA roster was going to come out the 6th, but the official roster has to be put in the 9th. I thought it was originally going to be the 6th, but I guess I was wrong. But
yeah, well, a lot of countries do a preliminary roster, so a 50-man or a 40-man preliminary roster, and then narrow it down. But that's not required. That's just hey, we're considering this pool of players. I don't know what the benefit of that is. Maybe it makes it easier on the federation to make sure they're good to go. But yeah, so only a couple more sleeps till we have to stop worrying about the 26th man on the roster and getting into Twitter arguments about Aaron Long or Alex Mendez or Christian Roldan or Malik Tillman.
Alex Mendez.
He was on someone's roster today. I don't know. Maybe they were just feeling the Mondays. I don't know, man.
Yo, wait, hold up. Before, if you guys are watching on video, hung up a few new jerseys back here. It's actually my Cameroon Eto'o jersey. You
Video quality's not too good.
And then my Panama kit,
Wow, so no Panama in this World Cup, but they made the last one. So you have Panama and you have Samuel Eto'o Cameroon.
Yeah.
Why didn't you flip it around so you could see Eto'o number 9 on the back?
I was thinking about it, but I think the front's too dope.
Okay. You got the lion in there. So you want to jump right in? Group A?
Yeah. Did you do Group A or did I do Group A?
I did Group A. So
all right, go ahead.
We each previewed a group, but we'll jump in and add little nuggets as we go. So basically what we wanted to do was we'll give you some facts about the team, kind of like their form or what they've done recently. And then like I figured instead of just talking about like speculating on how they're going to play or something, which we want to do as well, kind of like deep dive into like a key player or two and like maybe how they came up through the youth or the impact they might make in the World Cup. And it actually kind of tells us more about them as a soccer country rather than just like, hey, this player's in decent form. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's actually some really interesting ones as we go. So we'll start Group A with Qatar, the host. They're at most sports books, they're 250 to 1. So you bet $1 to win 250. They're 50th in the latest FIFA World Rankings. Their nickname is the Maroons. Their color's maroon.
Yeah.
Their manager's Felix Sanchez. They're likely to play some version of like a 3-5-2. I mean, that's speculation. Like it's the World Cup. I'm sure they would change it right away. So obviously they didn't have to qualify. Most of the Qatar players play in the Qatar League.
They don't even go through qualifying. They just kind of skip it.
Yeah, they skip it. We'll talk about this in a little bit, but they played it. They made it out of the knockout rounds or into the knockout rounds in the Gold Cup in 2021. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
They placed third in the Arab Cup in 2021. So they're just like literally just jumping into any tournament they can get because they don't have to qualify, which like I guess will be a problem for the U.S. as well for next cycle. So the player to watch that I highlighted is this guy called Akram Afif. I'm going to butcher some of these names.
Afif.
Is that really how you say it?
Maybe.
All right. He plays for Al Sadd in the Qatar League. 29 appearances, 19 goals. So, like, no matter what the level of the league is, Qatar League's probably fairly respectable. Those are good numbers. He made a move to Villarreal in 2016, but never appeared. He had 10 assists in the 2019 Asian Cup, valued at $6 million on transfer market, and was the top scorer in the 2021 Asian Cup. So, like, this is a guy who seems dangerous. I feel like every national team has, like, one or two players that are considered, like, dangerous or, like, their best players. So this is the guy.
What's he, a number 9 winger?
Yeah, no, he's an attacking player. I didn't watch his highlights.
Gotcha.
So, like, I'm watching Qatar. I'll probably watch how do they line up, what is their plan with and without the ball. I'm guessing it's going to be mostly defensive. And then as soon as I figure out which one Akram Afif is, I'll take a look because I'm assuming he's the guy on set pieces. He's the guy on penalties. He's the guy, they want to get the ball to. For most of these countries, I put some thoughts or like some final thoughts. The only thing I put was likely to be one of the weakest weakest teams in the field. Yeah. So there's not a whole lot there. Like they played in, like they weren't spectacular in the Gold Cup. They got to the knockout rounds, lost. Like it wasn't anything. I don't know. You have anything?
Everyone expects them to be like a like a pushover kind of, but usually host countries do pretty decent in the World Cup. So like, might be tough for a bad team. Like, for example, Costa Rica's coming in 51st. So like they're expected to be one of the worst. Mm-hmm. They're coming from across the world. Qatar's going to have all the fans, right? All the stadiums are basically in the same area. They're probably going to have a ton of fans. I saw this. To be
honest, like I feel like this World Cup in particular, Qatar's not an established soccer country, and all of the stadiums being in the same area like means more like tourist or traveling fans will be there rather than just locals. So I feel like this would be the one World Cup where they don't have the majority of the support.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because Russia, decent soccer country. Brazil, soccer country. South Africa, I think they had all of Africa like behind them. Germany, massive soccer country. So, yeah.
Just one little thing. Actually, so they qualified in the Asia group. Mm-hmm. There's 5 or 6 Asian teams, including Australia, because now Australia qualifies in Asia. Asia teams in the World Cup. So like that's like a pretty decent amount of Asian teams in this World Cup, mostly because Qatar got a free pass.
Yeah, and I think some of them will be good too. Like in some of my research, we'll talk about a few later that are like fairly intriguing. Any other thoughts on Qatar? You want to move on?
No, we can keep going.
All right, so we'll talk about Ecuador next. Ecuador 150 to 1 to win the tournament, so pretty big long shot for a South American team. They're 44th in the FIFA rankings. Their nickname is La Tri. I'm guessing it's very similar to El Tri in Mexico. Yeah. Likely to play a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1. Manager is Gustavo Alfaro. So just a little bit about their form. They finished 4th in South America. And Enter Valencia, the old man, plays for Fenerbahce. He'll be the captain. So I think we all know Enter Valencia. He's been around for a while. Always played with him.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's such a national team thing to have like an old guy who plays forward as your captain.
Yeah,
like it never happens in club, but like for a country, it's all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This was pretty interesting. The U.S. is projected to be the youngest team at the World Cup. Ecuador is second, likely to be the second youngest squad at the World Cup. They were very strong in home qualifying, but away from home they were 2-5-2. So, I mean, South America is ridiculous through qualifying anyway. It's so tough. But they weren't good in qualifying. I'm guessing they probably got their wins like away at like Bolivia or some weaker spot like that. Oh, my Union scarf
just fell.
Not my Union scarf. What is this, MLS Cup all over again?
Oh, dude, don't get me started.
Let me hang it back up.
You said South America is one of the toughest qualifying?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I mean, you get, I think, 4, and then 5th was Peru, and then Peru lost the playoff. So players to watch. This was interesting because being one of the youngest teams, there's a ton of really good young players. Moises Caicedo plays for Brighton. He joined like his local team in Ecuador at age 13. He was discovered by Brighton, bought for an undisclosed fee, which a lot of those fees coming from South America aren't as well known as someone from Europe. In 2021, he's become a regular starter. He's used as a center midfielder, but he's versatile. He's used as like a shuttler, can play like an outside center midfield role that pushes up, pushes wide, tracks back. And he's worth almost $30 million on transfer market, which is ridiculous for a 20-year-old.
20. Oh my gosh.
I know, dude. Like $30 million as a 20-year-old is crazy.
I remember people were talking about him that one game when earlier in the season when Brighton smashed Manchester United.
Mm-hmm.
That's like kind of like when his name really got talked about because it was one of his first games for Brighton.
Mm-hmm. And I like going through some of these players because it gives you a feel of like what's the movement like, what's the country doing? Because a lot of times it goes in waves, right? So like the next player I want to highlight is Gonzalo Plata, young guy, he's 21 years old. He plays in the Spanish second division for Real Valladolid. Do you know how to say that?
Real Valladolid?
Yeah. Wow. So,
I had a little flair to it.
But listen to this. The U20 World Cup in 2019, he won the bronze ball. So, like, that shows you, like, a guy like that can, like, turn it on and be, like, electric. He's a little winger. So he's short, he's quick, he's creative. So, like, if you're good enough to win a bronze ball at a World Cup, even if you kind of fall out of form at the club level, like, he's got some kind of quality there.
Yeah.
So my last thoughts will be they'll probably finish third in the group. I think Netherlands and Senegal are too strong, but this is the start of a young generation. And I would say if we're projecting out to 2026, they're going to be a dark horse. Like they're 150 to 1 to win this World Cup. I would guess by the time these players develop and we get to 26, they're going to be 20 to 1, 15 to 1, something like that, where like everyone's talking about them like, wow, they have 4 or 5 guys that are like legit. So I'm excited to see them play.
Nice.
Any other thoughts on Ecuador?
No, I'm excited to watch them though, especially
Yeah.
in this group. This is a pretty like fascinating group.
Yeah. Every game that doesn't include Qatar is like must watch.
Well, I want to watch all 3 of these teams, Netherlands, Senegal, and Ecuador.
Yeah, you just don't want to watch Qatar.
Not so much Qatar, but at least I get to watch one of them.
Yeah. You just watch how they play against a defensive 3-5-2.
Yeah.
All right, so next up is Senegal. They're 80-1 to win the tournament, which seemed a little outrageous. They're 18th in the FIFA World Rankings. Their nickname is the Lions of Teranga. Their manager is Aliou Cisse, and they'll probably play some version of a 4-3-3. They kind of played really well in the 2018 World Cup, kind of shocked some people. Some of their form, they kind of breezed through African qualifying group stages and then defeated Egypt in the playoff. If you remember, they beat Mo Salah in Egypt in the penalty shootout when like the guy was shooting the laser at Mo Salah.
Yeah.
They won the 2021 AFCON title, so they're pretty much known as like the best team in Africa. But when you get into those African games, like they're all tough. Like the fields are bumpy, like the crowd is nuts. Like it's just like a ruckus atmosphere.
Yeah.
The player I highlighted was Sadio Mane, but let me just go through a few of the players that like they have. Like so sometimes with national teams you're like, oh, that guy's from there, that guy's from there.
Yeah.
Edouard Mendy, Chelsea. Koulibaly, Chelsea. Diallo from RB Leipzig. Idrissa Gueye, Everton. Kouyaté, Palace. Mendy, the midfielder from Leicester. Sarr from Watford. Sadio Mane, Bayern Munich. So I would assume Mane is going to captain the side or Mendy. So I'll get into Sadio Mane a little bit. He started with the local team in Senegal called Generation Foot, which I'm assuming is a kind of like an academy for like really good players there. They kind of take the best local talent and like push them through this school or this academy. He moved to Metz via a partnership with Generation Foot. So Metz, the team in Germany, like pretty smartly, they go to Africa. They try to find the best players in Africa through this school, this like academy setup. Ralph Ragnick brought him to Salzburg, even though he hardly had any goals for Metz. So that kind of shows Ragnick's approach in finding a certain player, certain profile to fit his team. And like maybe it's like some analytical scouting. Maybe Mane had a certain amount of ball pressures or recoveries or sprints or, you know what I mean? He fits that profile of player, which is fairly interesting. And then at Salzburg, he had 31 goals in 63 appearances, which is like insane as a young player who hasn't proven himself yet at a top level. Age 22, gets a move to Southampton for 12 million euros. So then he kind of breaks into the Premier League there. 34 million euros to Liverpool in 2016. In his Senegal career, he has 34 goals in 93 appearances, which is really good. Like really good for your country. To score every 3 games for your country is like unheard of. Like every once in a while you could have a really good club season and score once every other game. But like every third game for countries, impressive.
Yeah. And when he joined Liverpool, he turned into like one of the best players in the world. So
yeah, if you're ranking the best players in the world, like I would, you kind of have to have him in your top 20 in every ranking.
Yeah, for sure.
He's probably closer to top 10 actually. It's in good form at Bayern. Just scores goals. But yeah, like I think this team could, like if they get a favorable result against Netherlands, I would assume they get 6 points from the other 2 games, and I could see them going on a pretty nice run. Senegal, so the first place in Group A will play second place in Group B, which is probably going to be the United States. So if Senegal gets the U.S., I think Senegal beats us, right?
Oh, yeah, that's tough.
And then if there's a matchup where maybe Senegal gets second and England gets first in Group B, I could see Senegal giving England some problems too, right? Like this team is close to as good as England. Like look at some of the names they have. These guys are some of the better players in England.
Yeah, but like I said, it's all about like having balance. I mean, they are pretty balanced across the board. Like,
yeah,
they got good players in every position.
And I just went through the players that are like well known that play in like Premier League teams that you would know. I'm sure if we did like an even deeper dive, these guys, they're littered throughout the roster.
Right.
Any other thoughts on Senegal?
No.
All right. Next up is Netherlands. So they're 12-1 to win the World Cup. They're 8th in the FIFA rankings. Their nickname is Orange, which means orange. And Big Louis van Gaal, their coach. So they'll probably play some type of, I mean, it could be a 4-3-3, but the past few tournaments, it's some version of a 3-4-3, 3-5-2 kind of thing. They topped their World Cup qualifying group. The group had Turkey and Norway. So they're not powerhouses, but Turkey and Norway are pretty good teams.
Yeah.
Good talent on both sides. They beat Wales, Poland, and Belgium in recent Nations League fixtures. So, I mean, they're in pretty good form. They're balling out in Nations League. And like I said, I think they'll play some version of a back three. If you just look at some of their players to watch, you got Van Dijk at Liverpool, who on his day is the best defender in the world. De Ligt at Bayern, who is on his way to maybe being one of the best in the world. De Vrij from Inter, who's been at the top level for a while, a lot of experience. Julian Timber from Ajax, so they're close. I put Javi Simmons and then question mark because I don't know if they've released the roster yet, but I would assume Javi Simmons is going to be on there. He's been tearing it up for PSV because he's on loan from PSG, and I would just love to see him get some World Cup run.
I expect him to be on for how good he's been playing this season, and he's just like different type of player. He's not the type of guy that's probably going to play in every game. Probably won't, but could be put in a game where they need to be more attacking. Right?
Yeah,
he's more of like a center midfielder, but this season for PSV, he's been way more of like an attacking midfielder.
Yeah, and maybe he gets some run as an attacker, like against Qatar. I don't know. Maybe he gets like a couple substitute appearances or something. And then some options up front. Well, so you have Frankie de Jong as a center midfielder. I'll go into him in a bit. Memphis Depay, who's a bit out of form at Bayern and doesn't play a whole lot, but you have Depay, Weghorst, and Cody Gakpo could all probably run around up front. That's probably why you'd play a 3-5-2. So you could play like two of those guys and like somebody underneath. So Frankie de Jong, real quick. I didn't go too in depth because I think we all know Frankie de Jong and we all know like the Dutch like youth system. But he's 25 years old. He grew up at Willem II, which is in the second tier of the Dutch. Purchased by Ajax while he was 18. He was purchased for £1 or €1, but a 10% sell-on clause. So it was pretty much just, hey, we're buying him, but you get like part of the funds. Pretty good deal.
£1 million?
No. I meant euro.
Euro.
Literally €1.
Wow.
So basically just asking for a higher sell-on. So I think it showed that Willem, however you say that team, they just believed in him so much. They developed him. They knew they were going to sell him on again, which is a good move because he's going to Ajax. What does Ajax do?
Sell on.
Yeah, they sell their players on. So 2019, he after that magical Champions League run by Ajax, goes to Barcelona for 75 million euros. And yeah, now he's considered one of the best center midfielders in the world, but up and down, similar to Barca's form. But I would consider Frankie de Jong as like one of the best soccer players in the world. Like ball at his feet, ball manipulation, vision, all that.
I knew you were going to pick him.
Well, if you really look at a lot of these guys, like a lot of the Dutch players are pretty much the same. They get into one of these pro clubs at a young age, and they're just churning out players. Like so, they're all like it's all fairly standard.
It literally is a pyramid, right? Like they start at the bottom clubs, then they build their way up. Maybe they go up a club like PSV, Ajax, Feyenoord, one of those teams.
Yeah,
and then one of those teams sell them on to one of the top 5 leagues. Like it's literally just pyramid. It looks like to me.
Yep, they have the region covered. The regional team or whatever picks up the player, develop them. Bigger club buys them. Then the teams at the very top buy them, and then they sell them on. It's one of the best places to go if you want to like progress your career. While if you look at some of the other profiles, like if we're going to look at like an American player and how they developed, it's different. You could go to college, you could get picked up by an academy, you could, just all different kinds of things. Yeah. It's very standardized. So yeah, that's my Group A preview. What do you think? Netherlands 1, Senegal 2?
Yeah, I would go Netherlands 1, Senegal 2, Ecuador 3, Qatar 4.
Yeah. And in another group, maybe I would take the leap and say Ecuador would finish third. Finish second in a different group, but I think Netherlands and Senegal are too strong.
Yeah, one of the tougher groups in this World Cup.
Now, I don't think Netherlands are going to win the World Cup. I don't think Senegal are going to win the World Cup. So in that sense, there's no, I don't think anyone in this group is going to win it, but it's balanced.
Now, if you're looking outlook on the Netherlands, well, if they get out of this group first, say they play the U.S., say they played Wales, or whoever's going to finish second.
Wales.
That's pretty fair draw. Then you move on to the next round. I think they would have to play Argentina in the next round.
Yeah.
But still, like maybe they beat Argentina. I don't know. But
I
think it's set up nicely for the Netherlands if they could go on a run, catch them. So. All right. So obviously we're skipping Group B. That's US's group. That's its own podcast. So now we're in the Group C. So this group's got Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Poland. So obviously we'll start with Argentina, who's the favorite, one of the favorites, basically Messi's last World Cup. So like that, that's a lot of what people have been talking about. So they're one of the favorites. They're 13-2 odds to win the tournament, and they're ranked third in the FIFA rankings. And I'll tell you why in a second. But their nickname's the Sky Blue and Whites.
Every national team is just like the color or two colors.
Yeah. They play some formation with. They'll sometimes play a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. Messi kind of covers all three of those positions. Like he could play the left, he could play the right, and if they play a 4-2-3-1, he'll play as like the 10 or like the player underneath the striker. So current form, they've been insane. 17 games unbeaten in qualifying.
Jeez. And we just talked about how difficult it was to qualify in South America.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought it was interesting because they had 11 wins and 6 draws. And they finished second place, so someone must have picked up more wins.
Brazil.
They had a decent amount of draws, but going unbeaten is pretty crazy. And their last loss was the 2019 Copa America semifinal. 2019.
Yeah, because they won the 21 Copa America, right?
Yep. In qualifying, they only allowed 8 goals. So in 17 games, only allowing 8 goals, that's a goal, allowing a goal every other game, which is solid. Like,
you do that through a World Cup, like you give yourself like an insane chance to. Yeah, like all it takes is one moment of magic from any of these guys, and.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't even think their defense was that good. I mean, like they'll probably end up starting Otamendi, Romero. He's hurt, but I expect him to be back for the World Cup. I expect those two to be the starting center backs. But we'll see. Also,
Otamendi still.
Yeah.
Wow, bro.
Yeah. So they also have Rodrigo De Paul, who like kind of broke out in the last Copa America. They obviously have plenty of players, Messi being one.
Plays a defensive midfielder, right? Just got bought by Atletico.
Yeah, so he'll kind of do the work if they want Messi to stay high and just kind of create on his end. Like he's one of those guys that just sits back, does the dirty work. No Dybala. I think Di Maria might miss the World Cup too.
I think he's back for Juve, but he's not that fit. So Dybala's definitely out.
Yeah, Dybala's out, which sucks.
Brutal.
Yeah. So, but the player I highlighted was Lautaro Martinez. Thought he was. I wanted to learn more about him because like he just spawned. No one knew like where this guy came from.
He's just a regen out of the Ajax academy or something.
This is probably the worst one we have. Like his story isn't like wow, that's cool. It's kind of. So he's 25 right now, and obviously in the past couple of years he's turned in like one of the best number 9s in the world, probably top 5, top 7, right? He's been balling out at Inter, but he started his club career at Racing Club in Argentina and was always looked at as like a top talent and a top young player especially at the youth national team levels. He's one of those guys that played with the 15s, the 17s, the 19s, 21, like literally played in every single like youth setup or whatever they call that. And he was actually linked to Real Madrid and Atletico, but there's like some controversial stuff with the transfer. Apparently, like Real Madrid accepted the transfer, but might have been like Atletico or Racing Club said like no, like that transfer didn't go through, but they were trying to claim it. Some crazy stuff.
Wow.
But in the end, Inter Milan were the ones that got him for $22.7 million in the end. And yeah, he's
looks like a good deal.
Yeah, seriously.
Like I'm sure they could sell him for $75 million right now.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's something they would do in the future. But yeah, I think if he catches form too, he could be up there as like probably the leading goal scorer, right? Even if Argentina go far, you would assume with Messi's form and how good Messi's been like assisting and like setting up plays, someone's got to finish him. And I think that's Lautaro Martinez.
Yeah. Take some burden off of Messi. He's not going to be taking free kicks and, maybe Messi's serving balls into the box, but he's not taking shooting free kicks or penalties away from Messi, but he'll score goals.
Yeah.
When you first said Martinez, I thought you were talking about Lisandro Martinez. He's Argentinian too, right?
Sandro Martinez. Yeah, he is.
So he doesn't have a chance to start over Otamendi?
Maybe he does. Yeah. I totally forgot about him, actually.
Well, when you said I just saw Martinez, I was like, oh, Lisandro Martinez. But I don't know. Otamendi's one of those guys who, like, no matter how bad he is, like in club form, like he'll probably just be like the captain for his country.
No, you're right. Honestly, especially if on the left side too.
Yeah. Maybe they play three. They could,
play three because Romero's comfortable playing in a 3 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good shout. Good shout. All right. Now on to Saudi Arabia. Tied for the second worst odds in this World Cup, 750 to 1, ranked 51st in FIFA rankings. Their nickname's the Green Falcons, and they're managed by a French manager named Hervé Renard. And I mean, we expect them to play a 4-3-3. Who knows what they'll play? But against the U.S., they played a 4-3-3, kind of a deep line. Current form in 2021, so they've kind of had a shift of form this year, in 11 matches, 3 wins.
Ooh.
3 wins in 11 matches. But they won their qualifying group ahead of Japan and Australia, who are both in the World Cup.
Yeah.
And in 10 matches, they had 1 loss. 1 loss. I forget who that loss was to.
So their form dipped after qualifying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. But they should have strong support as they're the closest nation to Qatar. So you expect a decent amount of Saudi Arabian supporters to come over.
Okay.
Like I said, there's a lot of teams from the Asia qualifying group that got in this World Cup, so it's pretty cool to see that. 2 players to watch: Yasser Al-Sorani. No, he's number 13. When you guys see him, just look for number 13. When you guys see him, you guys will recognize him from last World Cup. I think that's the one with who he's kind of got an afro. He's a outside back, maybe a winger. And then they had 2 players with 7 qualifying goals, but the one I highlighted was Fahad Al-Muwad. Fahad Al-Muwad. Number 19. He's got blistering pace, technical winger. Apparently he's pretty good, and at a young age was approached by Barcelona. So he was like highly touted as a really good like youth prospect.
Do you know did he grow up in Saudi Arabia or somewhere else?
No, he grew up in Saudi Arabia.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But he joined his local side Al Ittihad instead of joining Barcelona, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like so he stayed with his local club, started training with the first team at age 15, and debuted at 16.
Wow.
Yeah, so he ended up leaving Al Ittihad and ended up joining Al Shabab, which is one of the bigger clubs in Saudi Arabia. But so he's one to look out for. He's number 19. But 13 of their players play for Al Hilal, who I don't know if they won the most recent Asian Champions League. But they won the year before. They ended up playing Chelsea, if anyone remembers that. They played Chelsea in the Club World Cup.
So this team's probably not going to be very talented, but could they be sneaky cohesive?
I think they could stay in games. Like you saw the game they played against the U.S., right? Played to a 0-0. I think they're just going to sit back, be one of those teams that just makes it hard to play, you know?
Interesting.
And they're close to home. I expect like a good amount of supporters to be at their games and stuff. Yeah. So next team is Mexico, 150 to 1 odds to win. 13th in FIFA. Pretty good, I guess. El Tri, obviously, which kind of means the tricolor. Expect to play like a 4-3-3 managed by Tata Martino. Form, they finished second in CONCACAF with 28 points behind Canada. They had the same amount of points as Canada, but finished second on goal differential.
Yeah.
So
I think going into the last game, didn't Canada already have the top spot wrapped up?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. So Mexico didn't really start qualifying well, but ended up like kind of picking it up. Like the USA were ahead of Mexico like almost the whole time, and then Mexico jumped on that last match window, whatever it was. Players to watch, obviously they still have Hector Moreno, still have Ochoa. Irving Lozano was looked at as one of the best young players in the world at one point. He's there. But the player that I highlighted was Edson Alvarez. I didn't know much about him, so I thought it'd be pretty cool to look into him. He's obviously a defensive center mid for Ajax right now. He was linked to like Chelsea and a few other clubs recently. At 14, he tried out for Pachuca and got cut. And then tried out for Club America on a 3-month tryout. And to training, it took him a 3 to 4 hour round trip to just go train.
Every day he took that trip?
Yeah.
Huh.
But it seemed like he played for like an affiliate to Club America. Because at 16, he officially joined the Club America setup. So like from 14 to 16, he was grinding. He wasn't even like part of the full Club America setup. He must have been part of like some affiliate thing.
And then when they wanted him, they probably sent him to training or something like.
Yeah. And then when he turned 17, he joined the second division team. When he was 19, he got his first team appearance with number 282 on the back of his jersey. Kind of fun to think about. And then he put together a few good performances over the course of like the next couple seasons with them. Might have been there for like two seasons, whatever. And then Ajax came in, bought him for $17 million. So
Straight from the second division team?
no, the first team. The first team. When he started wearing 282, that's when he joined the first team
Of Club America.
of Club America. Yeah.
So Club America's had a second division team.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense. Wow. You normally don't think of Club America like bringing the youth through. And like, that's a big fee too. Wow.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of
Good
interesting.
scouting by Ajax.
Yeah.
Very like slow, methodical player. Like not the nastiest, but he just kind of sits in front of the back four, likes to get the ball, likes to be like kind of nice with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plays his style. I think one of the things the U.S. did well in qualifying was kind of getting him off the rhythm. They would like really junk up the passing lanes and like press high, and like you had the guys like McKinney and Adams. Like you get stuck into him a little bit, throws him off the rhythm. Also, you mentioned Irving Lozano, Chucky.
Yep.
He scored in the World Cup against Germany, right? Is he the one that scored?
Maybe.
I think he scored against Germany in 2018, and like people thought he was like the next big thing, like for Napoli, and he just it's kind of fallen off a little bit. So
Yeah, you expect him to be starting. Obviously, they have, I guess, Raul Jimenez still. No Chicharito, part of the squad. Novella, obviously.
Yeah.
Trying to think who else they have attacking wise.
This is not a very strong Mexico team.
Yeah, you've said that in the past.
Yeah, and I think like I watch Mexico like a decent bit, right? But like people that know Mexico even say like this is not a strong Mexico team. But it also goes with like their league in recent years, like League MX, like has brought in older players. They're less likely to like push the youth through, and they've had some trouble getting players. So apparently they used to have promotion relegation, but it was more of a closed system where they like a team has to like be a certain amount of bad for a few years to be able to get relegated. So it's not just a one season thing; it's like multiple seasons.
Yeah.
And then they closed the system altogether. So like now you're stuck. Like there's no promotion relegation, and like people are saying like that kind of leads to the lack of talent coming through. So yeah, but there's also a lot of players developing in America that are Mexican eligible. So
Yeah, there are, yeah. Mhm. And then the fourth team in this group is Poland, also 150 to 1 odds. They're ranked 26th in the latest FIFA rankings.
Mm-hmm.
They're the Eagles or the White Reds.
every country is the Eagles.
Yeah. So they'll either play like a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-2-1, something with 3 in the back. That's what we've seen under their manager, Mishnowisk. So yeah, that's their manager. I'm not going to repeat his name just because it's hard. They're 3-2-3 under him as manager.
He just take over.
Overall, recently, I'm not sure when exactly, but in qualifying, they're 6-2-2. So under their new manager, 3-2-3, including friendlies, maybe my Nations League, whatever. 6-2-2 in qualifying in their 10 matches. Made the qualifying playoffs from Europe. Obviously, they finished second in their qualifying group. So they went into like one of those playoffs that a few teams made. They received the bye as they were matched up against Russia.
Yeah.
And then they met up with Sweden in the final to see who would go into the World Cup, and they beat Sweden 2-0. One of those goals coming from their star man Lewandowski. So I would expect like if they had to get matched up against Russia, like Russia probably would have been a tough game for them. Also think Sweden would have been a tough game, but they kind of handled Sweden. So they're actually pretty good. Yeah, they got a few notable players. Like it's one of those teams that like you forget like wow. These are like big names. I forget that these guys are Polish. You know, a few being obviously you got Lewandowski, like one of the stars in the world. Milik for Juventus, who's came to Juventus this season, has done pretty well, scored a few goals. Mateusz Glick from Leeds. Szczesny, who's the Juventus goalie.
And he's definitely going to start, Szczesny.
Yeah, Szczesny's going to start. Which I don't even know if he's been starting for Juventus, so it's kind of one of those situations similar with the U.S. With their goalie situation. Kamil Glick, if those remember, he was like the center back for Monaco when they went on that Champions League run a few years ago. But now he plays for a Serie B side, so he's not even playing in Serie A. He's playing it for like a Serie B side. So one thing you notice with some of these Polish players that they play a lot in Italy, right? So the player that I highlighted was Peter Zielinski, plays for Napoli, and Napoli's having a very good season right now. He's been one of those guys that's been. They have a lot of good center midfielders, Napoli, but he's been playing a decent amount. He started his club career where he was coached by his father. I don't know if that was like professional club, semi-professional, or just like local, but he was coached by his father, which was pretty cool. And he was like looked at as like a pretty good talent. He was wanted by like several big clubs, and at a young age he joined Udinese in Italy. So like a lot of these players like in Poland join Italian clubs like pretty early.
Yeah.
And then made his career in Italy. He joined Udinese in 2012 and hasn't played anywhere but Italy since.
Okay.
Thought that was interesting. And then one little nugget is Krakowiak. He's so old now, but I'm pretty sure he's still going to be on the roster. He's one of their defensive midfielders. Not sure if he's got the legs to be a starter, but I'm sure he'll be around. He plays for Al Shabaab, which is where a decent amount of these Saudi Arabian players play too. Okay. So he'll be playing like close to where he plays his club football, and he'll be playing some teammates when he goes up against Saudi Arabia.
So this kind of sounds like it's a team with like a couple good young players, but like mostly older guys on their way out.
Yeah, definitely older guys on their way out. It's kind of like the core of their team is older players. Like I don't know if it was more of a like golden generation for them, like with a lot of good players coming through around the same time. But if it's not now for Poland to like really show out, I don't know when, because they don't have a whole lot of good young Polish players coming through at the moment.
So speaking of that, like, do they finish second? I think we both agree that Argentina probably finishes first. I think Argentina gets 9 points from 3 games. I would think Poland gets second.
I would agree with you. Yeah, I would agree with you, just because of Mexico's current form. Like we look at Mexico, like wow, it's Mexico, but it's not the same type of Mexico that we've seen in like past World Cup. And Mexico hasn't really had that many good performances in World Cups in my lifetime.
Mexico to me has just always been good enough to be second and get out of the group in like a fairly weak group. Kind of similar to the U.S., I guess, like where there's a good team, them, and then 2 worse teams. So like here, I think Poland and Mexico are like pretty similar, and it'd be interesting. Maybe Saudi Arabia, nicks a draw against one of these teams. Maybe they take a point off of Poland, but then Poland beats Mexico, and then things get a little wild.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so we got Argentina, and then we got Poland.
Yep.
Gotcha. You ready to move to Group D?
Yeah, let's do Group D. Yeah.
Might have to move a little bit quicker here. So Group D is France, Denmark, Australia, and Tunisia. This is actually a pretty fascinating group, to be honest. So France, 6-1 to win the World Cup, defending champs, 4th in the FIFA rankings. Nickname is Les Blues, the Blues.
Of course.
Coach is Didier Deschamps. They'll play. In 2018 they played a tight 4-4-2, where they had like kind of hardworking shuttler guys on the outside. You had Conte and Pogba being like superhuman runners, and it just let Griezmann or Giroud or Mbappe do like a bunch of the running up front. But they'll likely play some kind of 3-5-2 or 3-4-3. So Mbappe's not isolated up front, and they have so much attacking talent. We'll get into. So there are some key injuries. Varane likely out for the World Cup. Conte's out for the World Cup. Pogba's out for the World Cup. And these guys are like insane club careers, played so much soccer. They're just out. They've played a lot. They picked up injuries. That happens. They're undefeated in their qualifying group. Played against Ukraine, Finland, Bosnia, Kazakhstan. So like not the toughest competition, but like they're decent sides. They've been struggling in Nations League. They're behind Croatia and Denmark in their group. And like for a European Nations League group, Croatia and Denmark are like really good teams to play against. So I would also think that someone like France uses Nations League to get new guys in and like experiment with some things. I'm sure if they really wanted to turn it on, they could. But every once in a while you get a Nations League group that is like legit. But they are struggling there. In Euro 2020, played in summer of 2021, they lost in the round of 16 to Switzerland in penalties. So not their best showing. I think like I don't see the group of the whatever they call it, the curse of the past winner, where the winner of the previous World Cup doesn't get out of the current World Cup's group. I don't see that happening at all. So maybe the Euro was that, where they kind of pumped themselves up a little too much and just couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
But one of the things with France, like I guess it's a good problem, is like the team is so talented, it's ridiculous. Like you could drop their 10 best players and still have like an insane squad. Like look at this, like you could start a 3-4-3 with this lineup: Hugo Lloris, Lucas Hernandez, Kimpembe, Jules Koundé, Theo Hernandez, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Pavard, Antoine Griezmann, Karim Benzema, Kylian Mbappe. I mean, you could go through and you could go listen to the clubs of these players. Tottenham, Bayern, PSG, Barca, AC Milan, Real Madrid, Bayern, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, PSG. That 11 doesn't include Longley, Fofana, Upamecano, Guendouzi, and Nkunku. Nkunku, who I think on his day is the best player in the world. Like, on any given day, he's a top 5 to 10 player and can just create things out of nothing. Yeah. I think he's so good. Yeah. And, like, it's going to be a crime that we don't get full beast mode Nkunku because this squad is so deep. So one of the players I wanted to highlight was Aurélien Tchouameni, because I think it's interesting that we talk a lot about the suburbs of Paris and playing street soccer and Clairefontaine and how they develop the youth and sell them, and France is just churning out talent like it's nothing. Tchouameni's a more recent one, right? He just got sold to Real Madrid for whatever, 100 million or something. So like a lot of these French players, they have African roots. He's from Cameroonian descent. Fun fact, his dad was actually a vaccine worker. Like, he worked on vaccines. He was a doctor or something. He grew up in Bordeaux, joined the Bordeaux Academy at age 11, but at the time his family moved to Lyon when he joined Bordeaux. So he was like on his own. It's kind of a weird thing. In 2015-16, he began getting called into the France U16s, and at 17-18 he joined Bordeaux B as, you know, the Bordeaux second team. He had 10 appearances and 15 appearances in the next 2 seasons with Bordeaux B. Got sold to Monaco in January of 2020 for 18 million euros. And then, here it is, 60 million euros to Real Madrid in the summer of 2022. So very standard, really good talent, joins an academy. From that academy is just pushed up through the levels. Along the way, gets called into these the youth national team camps. And then from there, a bigger club in the country buys them, and then a bigger club throughout the world buys them. So similar to, you know, France, similar to Netherlands, there's a pyramid in the country, and then from that country, they get bought by these bigger clubs. So just some thoughts. I think Argentina, Brazil, and France are probably the 3 strongest squads. Like I said, insane depth. Like, they have some of their players that are injured are, you can make a case that they're some of the best players in the world, and we don't even it almost doesn't even matter. It's like, yeah. Oh, they just have 2 more center mids right behind Pogba and Conte that could do a similar job. Yeah. Both play, it's just nuts. And on any field they play in, they're going to have 2 to 3 of the best players. Unless they play Brazil, unless they play Argentina, you know, they're always going to have the best player. You know, Mbappe's the best player in the world, so they're going to have him probably. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see kind of what they roll up. But this is a team, and Deschamps has showed it, tactically flexible. They defend when they need to. They have the whatever you call them, the water carriers, the guys who do all the hard work and defend, and then the guys who go score the goals and do the creative stuff. They could mix and match center backs like it's nobody's business. I mean, Upamecano on the bench, a world-class center back that we barely mentioned. Oh, yeah. So the first time I ever tried to pronounce Upamecano's name, I called him Upper Campo. Is it just I don't know. That's what I thought in my head.
What I think about this team is that they have a good balance of experienced players. Obviously, around half the squad is probably going to be back for to win another World Cup. Mm-hmm. So half the squad already has the World Cup medal. But then the other half is young players who are hungry and want to win one themselves. So I think it's got a good balance.
I mean, Benzema wasn't even on the team for the last World Cup. So
yeah. And
now he's also considered one of the best players in the world.
Right.
So next up is Denmark. They're 28-1 to win the World Cup. They're ranked 10th in the FIFA rankings. Their nickname is De Rod Hived, or the Red and Whites. Shocker, it's 2 colors. They'll play a 4-3-3 or a 3-4-3. Pretty interesting that they're in the same Nations League group as France, which is kind of weird. So maybe that's, don't take too much from the Nations League because maybe France doesn't want to show them anything or give anything away. They qualified from Group F, which was Scotland, Israel, Austria, Faroe Islands, Moldova. So fairly easy there. Scotland's respectable, but not much challenge there. Euro 2020, they were second in Group B, but only had one win. They beat Wales, round of 16. They beat Czech Republic in the quarters, lost to England in the semis. So they went on a nice run, but they really weren't they weren't overly impressive. You would expect them to beat Wales. Wales isn't great. You expect them to beat Czech Republic, and then, a tight loss to England. Their group in the Euros was Finland, Belgium, and Russia. So, their only win in the group was against Russia, and they advanced on goal differential because they beat Russia 4-1. Like I said, they beat France in the Nations League, and they're 1 point behind Croatia in that group. Listen to these players, too, because they have a lot of players you didn't know were Danish that play at big clubs. Kasper Schmeichel, Nice, Christensen at Barca, Simon Kjaer at AC Milan, Joachim Andersen at Palace, Vestergaard at Leicester, Male, how do you say it?
I think it's Male.
The wingback for Atalanta, Thomas Delaney at Sevilla, formerly at Dortmund, Højbjerg at Spurs, Rasmus Christensen, the right back for Leeds, Eriksen at Manchester United, Mikael Damsgaard at Brentford, Braithwaite at Espanyol, and Yusuf Poulsen at Leipzig. All just good players that you've heard before. It's a pretty good squad, right? So I'm going to highlight Højbjerg. So he plays at Spurs. He started at Copenhagen, was born and raised in Copenhagen. He moved to Brøndby at age 14. While he was there, he was the Danish U17 Player of the Year at age 16. So pretty linear path thus far. He moved to Bayern Munich, played for Bayern 2 for like 500,000 euros. So was kind of in and out of the squad. He got minutes, as it went on for the next few seasons. He joined Southampton in 2016 for 12 million euros. And then August 2020, 15 million euros to Spurs. He has 60 appearances for Denmark since 2014. So a lot of appearances. I think now is the time his career has taken off. Like, he clearly had the potential when he was younger. And like, he didn't, he's a simple midfielder. He's good, he's powerful, but like, he's not overly flashy. So he could do the job at Bayern Munich. Southampton takes a chance on him, sells him. And I think at Spurs, especially under Conte, he's solidified himself as like a force in there and like one of the better center midfielders in the league. So some thoughts on Denmark. I think their talent, is unquestioned. Like, they have a lot of talent. Definitely a dark horse. Like, they could make the quarterfinals. They could finish second in this group and beat. Well, they're not beating Argentina, right? But if they somehow finish first or Argentina finishes second, then they're beating whoever is the next best in Group C. Yeah. So they're not beating Argentina, but if they somehow get matched up with Poland or Mexico, they're beating them. They played a 3-4-3 in the Euros. And Male, the wingback, he got forward a lot. He impressed me in the Euros. But they've used the 4-3-3 in recent games because they drop Eriksen into the midfield. And obviously most of the Euros, they didn't have Eriksen. So something tactical to look out for. One of the more boring teams in the World Cup, I would say, is Australia. Not very good. They're 250-1. They're 38th in the FIFA World Rankings. They've played a 4-3-3 in some of their recent games. Their manager is Graham Arnold, and best nickname in the tournament, the Socceroos.
Ooh, yeah, that is a good
one. Half kangaroo, half soccer. But when I was writing this, I was like, wait, do they also call it soccer? Like, they're not the football roos, right? Like, I guess they call it soccer. So their form, they beat Peru on penalties to advance to the World Cup. They qualified through Asia. They finished behind Japan and Saudi Arabia. They defeated United Arab Emirates, and then they that's when they played Peru in the intercontinental playoff. They beat New Zealand in a couple friendlies recently in September. I think they just stuck to their region. They didn't travel. Europe has the Nations League. A lot of, the U.S. scheduled friendlies in Europe to play those teams. So I think they just stuck to teams in their region to play. So I highlighted one of their key players is goalkeeper Matty Ryan. He's playing for Copenhagen, played for Brighton in the past. That's probably how you know him. Grew up in Australia, went to a lot of these players go to like high schools, like fairly, standard upbringing. Played for a semi-pro team. One of the only semi-pro teams to have eliminated an A-League team in their cup competition. Then gets bought by an A-League team, U20 Australian Player of the Year. Then he moves to Club Brugge in the summer of 2013 for about €1 million. Played for Genk, Valencia, Brighton. So he has big game experience. He's just kind of been around. Typical veteran goalkeeper. Another player to highlight is Riley McGree. He's an attacking midfielder. 24 years old, born in Southern Australia. He grew up playing for Gawler Eagles FC, which was like a community club. Then moves to Adelaide United in the A-League. And then from there, he's called up to their youth squad. Played for Australia's U17s, U23s, and then full national team. Once again, purchased by Club Brugge, but then quickly loaned back to the A-League. So I don't know if Club Brugge is like trying to tap into the Australian market there. Maybe they believe it. Like, look, maybe the A-League has a plan to implement promotion relegation at some point, right? They might have already done it. So maybe Club Brugge is like, hey, there could be some cheap players that come through, and they're doing the right stuff down there in Australia. Let's go send some scouts. Let's take some chances on these guys. I don't know. He went back to his club Adelaide while he was 19, 20 years old. 10 goals in 23 appearances. That's kind of when he started to play well. He was purchased by Charlotte FC in MLS, but never played. So they purchased him before the team was a thing. He was loaned to Birmingham in the championship and then purchased by Middlesbrough. And he's playing pretty well in the championship. So that's why he's like one of the younger standout players for Australia. And then they have another guy named Tom Rogic, who plays for West Brom. So two of their better midfield players are playing in the championship. So that kind of gives you the level of the team. So just some thoughts. I think they're one of the weaker sides in the World Cup. They're going to be tough, but they just don't have enough quality. Like, I don't see them getting blown out, but they're probably going to lose like 2-0 most of these games.
I just see him being one of those like tough, like gonna fight for everything teams. Like
if they somehow get one
chip, like the ball is gonna be in the air.
Yeah,
50% of that game, man.
Yeah, dude, the possession numbers against France are going to be like 85-15.
Yeah.
And then last one, this is pretty intriguing. I like this one. Tunisia. They're 500 to 1 to win the World Cup. They're 30th in the FIFA rankings. Their nickname is the Eagles of Carthage. They'll probably play some form of a 4-3-3. They qualified out of Africa. They won the group with Ecuador, Guinea, Zambia, and Mauritania. Then they won 1-0 over Mali to advance. They played Brazil in a friendly in September, lost 5-1. So like that kind of gives you the idea of like they're not really at the level of a top team, but they're better than the really bottom teams. So some interesting key players. Wahabi Khazri, he's a forward. He's 31 years old, played for Sunderland in the Premier League. He now plays for Montpellier in Ligue 1, the French league. Born and raised in France, as will be a theme with this Tunisia team, which is why I think they're intriguing. He played for Bastia, then signed for Bordeaux for €5 million. Then he went to Sunderland, then back to France. He has 2 goals in 11 appearances so far this season. 24 goals in 71 appearances for Tunisia. So it kind of gives you like he's an older forward, Enter Valencia style, right? Who just hangs on with his country. So he's the leadership. He's the old guy. He's an experienced veteran. Scores goals, but as you could see with his club team, he's not really getting a whole lot of run for a French League One team, and he's like the key guy. So that kind of shows you the quality of the team. This next one is super intriguing, though. Don't quite know how to say his name. Hannibal Mejbri. So he's 19 years old, grew up in suburb of Paris, right? Grew up in France. Spent time at Clairefontaine and was scouted by all of the big English academies. Was with Monaco's academy until Man United spent 5 million euros on him. Then he made a Man United first-team debut in May of 2021. He was loaned to Birmingham City in the championship for this season. While he was still in France, he played for the France U16s, U17s. And then in May of 2021, so the same time he got his first team call-up for Man United, he made his debut for Tunisia, played against Congo in a friendly. And then he played for Tunisia when they were runners-up in the 2021 Arab Cup. Something interesting, he has almost 1 million followers on Instagram. Like, he is considered a, like, product of the academy from Man United. And, like, he's got an afro. You'll recognize him when you see him.
Yeah.
Like, to me, this screams like Tunisia, like, if, like, they're trying to tap into, like, the exports they have from France, right? Tunisian roots, moved to France. There's ballers in France. So, like, how many of them can you get on their national team? So this guy's young still. He's, what I say he was. He's 19 years old.
He's only 19. Wow.
So I'm assuming he's going to play. I'm assuming he's a starter, or at least has the talent to be a starter. But, yeah, I mean, he's a highly touted prospect, like, still owned by Man United.
I remember when he came in for his debut, they were Manchester United. This was in May, I think.
Yeah.
They were getting smoked by someone. And he came in and he got a yellow card instantly. Like,
yeah, and people were like, "Oh, that's the fight we need, like, in this team or something." Because, like, they were like, "Oh, he's fighting for Ole's job or something like that." Yeah, he's got the afro, and like, I would assume he's on track to be one of the better players. And, like, if you look him up, there's an article put out by Man United like 2 weeks ago talking about, like, their exports, like their loanees, and it said, like, how well he's playing for Birmingham.
That's cool.
Yeah. They made the 2018 World Cup, and they were fairly competitive. Tunisia was. 2-1 win against Panama, who was likely the weakest team in the World Cup that year. 5-2 loss to Belgium, and then a 2-1 loss to England. So they kept it tight with England. Maybe they were trying to, play for a draw or something. Lost big to Belgium. That was a kind of a weird group. You had 2 really weak teams and 2 really strong teams. So, like I said, I think the French influence will, like, show that they have some quality in the side. And it sounds like a decent mix of, like, some promising young players and, like, some old heads who have been there. So, like, I don't think they'll make noise. Like, maybe they'll get a point against Australia. Maybe they'll beat Australia. But other than that, I would assume they get smoked in the other games.
Yeah, which you said they qualified through Africa. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So Group D is pretty clearly, to me, unless Denmark can upset France, I would think it's France 1, Denmark 2, then probably Tunisia, and then Australia.
Okay, you have Tunisia over Australia.
Yeah. Now maybe that's totally wrong, and maybe the squad drops off really far after most of the French influenced players, but I'm way more intrigued to watch Tunisia than I am Australia.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that what you have too, or do you have Australia over Tunisia?
I could go either way on Australia, Tunisia, just because I don't know anything about either of them. But
You need another podcast on Australia versus Tunisia?
Now I do know more about them. And now
Wait, when do they play? When's the Australia Tunisia game? I think we might have to live stream our reactions to that game. That's on the Half-Turn Cup.
November 26th, 5 a.m. Yes.
Wait, so when is that? Is that around Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving. Yeah, that might be. Thanksgiving's the 24th, maybe.
So we play the 25th against England,
Yeah,
and this one's the next day.
I think. I don't know.
Oh, that's awesome.
We'll see.
I'm already setting my alarm for 4:45 a.m. on the 26th. Yeah, let's go.
For 4 to check the lineups.
I would assume that is the least watched game of the World Cup, right? Early game, like sleep in on a Saturday.
At 5, yeah.
All right, cool. Do we want to do Group E now? I mean, it's already 5, whatever, 10.
Do you have time?
What'd you say?
Do you have time?
Yeah, can we get it done in?
Yeah, I realized I have time to get it in yet too.
All right, can we get it done in 15 minutes?
As a coach myself, my session is actually 30 minutes later than what I expected. So, 2 coaches over here now. All right, Group E. One of the toughest groups: Spain, Germany, Japan, and Costa Rica. One of the cooler, more interesting groups too, because you got Spain and Germany, 2 powerhouses, you could put it like that. Japan, who I think is got some really intriguing players, and then Costa Rica, who's a CONCACAF team. So we'll start with Spain. 85-1 odds, ranked 7th in the FIFA rankings.
Hold on. Spain is 85-1 odds?
Yeah. Or did I might have wrote that down wrong.
It sounds more like they'd be like 8.5-1 or something.
I forget.
If they're 8.5-1, I'm sprinting to the window, bro.
Double check that for me. Because that doesn't make sense because they are 7th in FIFA. But their nicknames are the Red Fury or La Furia Roja. They're coached by Luis Enrique still. And will most likely play a 4-3-3.
They're plus 850, so they are 8.5-1.
8.5-1. Okay. Yeah, my bad.
You almost had me, jumping to Vegas.
Bettors were going crazy. For them, they finished first in their World Cup qualifying group. Their only loss was to Sweden, which Sweden are a good side. So, but they only had one convincing win in their World Cup qualifying group, and that was 4-0 against Georgia last September. So over a year ago, this is their only convincing win. So you would expect with some of the teams that they have in their group, I don't have it in front of me, but you would expect them to have more bigger wins, but the only one is against Georgia, that 4-0 last September. Obviously, they have tons of players to watch. It's kind of one of those teams where most of the players, but then you might see a player you're like, I don't know much about him.
Yeah, kind of forgot he was he's a good player, and I think about him all the time, but I don't think of him as a Spanish national team.
Well, for me, I don't watch too much La Liga, so there might be players from La Liga that I'm not too familiar with that will be in the squad. But some ones to know, obviously, you got Ferran Torres, who kind of played pretty well, was kind of their guy in the forward positions in the Euros. Thiago, Unai Simon's expected to be the starting goalie. It's not De Gea. Center back wise, you got Ramos, Pau Torres, Laporte. Remember we were making fun of Laporte last
But I don't speak Spanish.
And Eric Garcia. So some sort of that. I don't expect Ramos to start, but he's won a World Cup and
veteran leadership.
Yeah, for sure. And then they have a young core of Pedri, Gavi, Fati,
the midfielders and attacking players are
yeah, I would say they're starting to bring in some young players. I mean, those players have been starting to play a lot more. I know Pedri was young player of the Euros. But I would expect Gavi to play. Recently, they have been playing for Spain too. Because they have been playing for club as well. So I expect Pedri and Gavi to actually play a decent amount.
You think Busquets will still play too, right?
Well, probably not, because the player that I highlighted is Rodri. Yeah, Rodri, Man City, very interesting guy. He was released from Atletico at age 17 for his lack of physical strength.
Jeez.
Which, he's definitely not known for his physical strength, but definitely not known for not being, physical. One second, let me put my...
Which is funny, Rodri, he's a big guy, but he, tucks his shirt in, always looks, proper, very clean.
Yeah.
Doesn't get dirty a whole lot.
Well, listen to this. He joined Villarreal before being bought back by Atletico for around $20 million. So he joined Villarreal, got bought back by Atletico.
Brutal.
He lived in university housing while he was at Villarreal. He studied economics.
Nice.
But he studies and he studied, or he might still study business administration at City. So like he was still like working on like a degree while playing for Manchester City, which is crazy. And cool fact, he donates like some chunk of his salary to charity and does not have an Instagram page. So unlike Hannibal from
Tunisia.
he does not have 1 million followers. He actually has 0.
Oh man.
So Rodri, I expect him. I mean, he's turned into one of the best defensive mids in the world.
Yeah.
I thought the other day, the Man City game, he was a beast. So Rodri's probably going to be the guy there. I mean, Busquets will probably come to the team, but I expect Rodri to be a 90-minute guy almost every game for them. We talked about in the Euro podcast, if you guys think way back when, we talked to Mike Tringali about Morata, their number 9, and how he's everything but a world-class number 9.
Yeah.
But he's still expected to be their number 9. I mean, you got Jared Moreno. You could play someone like Ferran Torres, maybe someone else up there. But it's probably going to be Morata, which I think
He's just one of those guys who's like, no matter his club form, he's just like there for the national team.
yeah, like Spain's known for like playing possession or whatever, and what I've seen is they're starting to have more like wingers and like attacking midfielders like Fati, Dani Olmo, some other guys who will play like big roles in this World Cup, and that's how I think that's now some of their best players is their attacking players. When before it was like their midfield players and their defensive players. So I feel like that kind of shift, but I'm wondering if they'll score as many goals as they should with their number 9, Morata.
Well, maybe they play Morata and then make a change for the next game.
Yeah. But you obviously expect them to be the team that controls the ball, especially against Japan and Costa Rica.
It'd be interesting to see them against Germany too. It's like two like clashing styles.
Yeah. So on Germany, they're 10-1 odds. They're 11th in the FIFA rankings. Their nickname's the Team or the 11. They're coached by Hansi Flick and will most likely play a 4-2-3-1, which they have under Hansi Flick almost every
Played a
game.
little 3-4-3 in the Euros as well.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
they just like they attack that way. I'm not saying they played that. It just looked like that.
Yeah. Their form, they topped their World Cup qualifying group. Only loss was to Netherlands, which Netherlands are a good side, so
Yeah.
it's fun. Under Flick, in 15 matches, they have 9 wins, 5 draws, and 1 loss. Decent amount of draws in there. I would expect more wins, but 1 loss. I guess that was the one to the Netherlands. But 45 goals for, 12 against. So
Wow. Yeah.
done pretty well in the goal scoring side of things. Players to watch: Kimmich, Havertz, Gnabry, Sane, Muller, Goretzka. Center backs, I mean, the question is who, like, their center backs are a little, like, iffy. They got Rudiger, who's
Rudiger's been really good.
better center backs in the world past couple of years. And then you got Sule and Slaughterback, who both play for Dortmund now. So they'll play a combination of those 3. The player that I highlighted is Jamal Musiala. He's my pick to be the young player of the tournament. Only 19 years old. He's turned into probably one of the best attacking midfielders in the world this season. So a little bit about him. He's 19 right now. Was born in Stuttgart. Spent most of his childhood in England. He was actually part of the Chelsea Academy. But in 2019, he left Chelsea to join Bayern. So imagine, like, working with Chelsea Academy, the staff, training with those players, and then having the opportunity to go back to Germany and training with Bayern. Like, you would bet your money that guy would turn out to be, like, something, playing in Chelsea and Bayern.
Well, like Chelsea, I feel like have always had like a bit of like a German thing going on,
Yeah.
and like Bayern always the best in Germany, so it makes sense.
Yeah, so he could have represented Nigeria for his father. Is from Nigeria, England or Germany. He most recently represented England in the U21 European qualifiers in November of 2020. So he was recently with England. And then February 2021, he decided he would represent Germany at the senior level.
I mean, I could see like the German Federation pushing Bayern to go get him, because if you get him in the Bayern system, he's probably
that's
more German at that point than England.
Yeah, I wonder if they paid anything for him too, or if that was his decision to.
I'd also say, like, I think Kimmich is probably their best player at this point, right? Gnabry, Kimmich, right? Two of the better players.
Oh yeah. Real quick, goalie-wise, I'm not sure if Neuer will be healthy, but I think it'll be Ter Stegen to be the starter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, too.
But just Musiala this season, in 20 games, he has 11 goals and 8 assists.
Wow.
11 goals and 8 assists at 19 years old, just this season. He's played 1,238 minutes. That's a goal involvement, goal or assist, every 60 minutes he plays.
Wow. And we just talked about how impressive that is at club, and then
I'm just saying that, he's turned into like one of the best attacking midfielders in the world. So like if we're making picks on young player of the tournament, Jamal Musiala.
yeah.
Next we have Japan.
Real quick, can you go through this in 7 minutes?
Yeah, I got you.
Less than 7 minutes.
Yeah. Japan 24th in the FIFA rankings, 250-1 odds. Also a great nickname, the Samurai Blue.
Oh, that's probably that and Socceroos are the two best.
Hajime Moriyasu is their manager. They play some sort of 4-2-3-1. In the first round of qualifying, in the Asian qualifying, 8-0-0, 46 goals for, 2 against.
Mm-hmm.
Second round of qualifying, 7-1-2, 12 goals for, 4 against. So in the first round of qualifying, they ran through them. Second round was a little bit harder. One of their losses was Saudi Arabia, who's a World Cup team. Obviously, recently they beat the U.S. 2-0 in the last international window. They pressed well, high energy, very quick. They kind of just played on the front foot. Mm-hmm. Players to watch, you got Tomiyasu at Arsenal. Yoshida, who used to play for Southampton, now plays for Schalke. He's a center back. Kamada, attacking midfielder for Frankfurt. Minamino, he's an attacker for Monaco. He used to play for Liverpool. Daizen Maeda, he plays for Celtic. And Kubo's question mark. They're not sure if he's going to be able to make it in the World Cup because he's hurt. Yeah, so one of our guys, Kubo, might not be. Mm-hmm. The player I highlight is Karu Matoma from Brighton. So he actually scored against the U.S., and I thought he's been putting together some good performances for Brighton. He had a good weekend this past week, so I thought it'd be pretty cool to highlight him. Turned out he played academy and was offered to go play professional or university, and he chose university. So like kind of like here in the United States, some players have the opportunity to continue with their professional setup at the club, or you could go play college like Division I or whatever. So he decided to go to this university that produced several professionals before. So it's one of the better universities over there in Japan.
Japanese University of Maryland.
It's University of Tsukuba. He also did this because other academy products were struggling with the professional team that he was training with. So he decided it wasn't the best path for him. Stood out in university tournaments and eventually signed for a local J League club. His first season had double-digit goals. Played a few seasons there. Was bought by Brighton last September of 2021, and spent last year on loan at Union SG in the Netherlands.
But Brighton found him.
Yes.
In Japan. That's the same time window they bought Caicedo as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Graham Potter's men must have been doing some work all across the world.
Scouting on Football Manager.
Yeah, so Matoma's a left winger. I think he's gonna be really good for Japan if they're able to get some wins, get some goals, get some nice like attacking play. I think some of it will come from Matoma.
Yeah, we got to hurry up. I'm out of time, and my laptop has like a few percent. So can we finish this up?
Yeah, I got you. Costa Rica ranked 31st in FIFA. They're the Los Ticos. Luis Fernando Suarez is their coach. Previously coached Ecuador and Honduras to a World Cup. They finished fourth in CONCACAF, 25 points, and beat New Zealand 1-0 in the playoff. Some notable, I won't get too much into it, but some notable names are Keylor Navas, Brian Ruiz, Joel Campbell, one of your boys.
Hey, my boy Joel Campbell.
Aguilera, who's 19 years old, owned by Nottingham Forest, but back on loan in Costa Rica. So I expect this group to probably end up being, it's tough between Spain and Germany. I honestly think Germany is going to be better than Spain.
I think Germany's team is a little like weaker than you would think. Like still strong and probably stronger than Spain, but like I don't think Germany or Spain are good enough to be like a top in any group.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. But I would say Germany, then Spain, then Japan, then Costa Rica. Just
it's a shame that it's a shame that Japan isn't in a group where they have a better chance.
Yeah, which we've highlighted a few of those groups that they probably could have. But yeah, I like Japan, but Japan's going to be one of the teams I watch.
Dude, to be honest, like if there's odds for like a team, like if we're going to bet on like a team that's in third that likely won't be able to make it through, like I would bet on Japan. Like if Spain or Germany slip up, like maybe Japan nicks a draw against them, beats Costa Rica, like I could see Japan ending with 4 points. Like they're a team that like could make it ugly, kind of like Costa Rica in 2014, right? It's a tough group, but they just get favorable results, and you know.
Yeah, the thing about this Costa Rica team, I don't think they have enough. You know, it's Keylor Navas, Brian Ruiz. They're pretty old. It's going to be their last World Cup.
They're not very good.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get it. So.
But yeah, I would probably say Germany, Spain, Japan, Costa Rica.
Agree.
Yeah.
So that was Group E. So we finished A, C, D, and E.
Yep. Next episode will be probably Wednesday. I guess Wednesday night. We'll probably publish it Thursday or something, but it would be after the U.S. roster. So it'll be a Group B preview, U.S. roster reaction. So, like, if you are mostly about the U.S., like, that is going to be, like, the gold mine of info right there.
For sure.
Yeah, that should be awesome. This was an awesome episode. It's like an hour and 30 minutes, so I got to get rolling. There's not a whole lot of battery left on my computer. All right. We good?
Yep. All good.
Well done, Chad. Peace.
Peace.